Welcome back to Investing with Confidence. As always, I am your host, Joshua David, talking about the stock market and our sponsor, Online Trading Academy, the sponsor of the show, on their 25th year, teaching people just like you how to trade and invest in the stock market. We also talk about multiple markets: options market, futures, Forex, cryptocurrency, how to make smart investing decisions for your longer term wealth bucket, but also for your short-term income strategies as well. And if you missed tickets for that investing class, local at our academies, so if you're listening to the show right now, we have local academies near you. You can text the word invest to the number 484848. When you do that, you're going to receive a text back. We have a couple different dates on there. Pick the day that works best for you, and we'll make sure to one of our colleagues get back to you and make sure we find the date that works perfect on your schedule. So text right now, text the word invest to the number 484848. And in that last segment, we were talking about how to find or how to read a story on a price chart. Basically, how the financial markets move and work is done by the institutions. The big banks, the big money, they move the money. As Al talks about every single week, the people that have the clout to move the markets. So us as individual traders and investors, we basically want to find what they're doing and almost mimic what they do. Trade like them, not against them. And that's some of the things, Al, I want to talk about on this segment here is we kind of alluded to our core strategy that Online Trading Academy has on that last segment, which is based off of supply and demand, which can't be changed. It's the law of supply and demand, almost like the law of gravity. If you're watching the YouTube right now, by the way, on our YouTube stream, Investing with Confidence, you can go and watch the show live or recorded. If I have this pen here, Al, and I drop this pen, let me ask you this. Do you know what is going to happen when I drop this pen?
I have a pretty good idea, Josh.
It's going to fall down.
Yeah,
because
unless you're standing on the moon.
Unless I'm standing on the moon, correct. But it's going to fall down because of the law of gravity.
Right.
And that's very similar to the law of supply and demand. So I want you to kind of let's explain and kind of give a visual on how that works in the financial markets. And you really dive into more actionable items in these investing classes. But how does supply and demand actually work? And how is that tied into Online Trading Academy's core strategy?
Yeah, there's not a lot of things that you can't argue against these days, but one thing you really can't argue against is that impact of supply and demand. Basically, it's a financial law. It means that if there's more demand for something, price will go up. If there's more supply for something or of something, price is going to go down. So it's important then to be able to use that concept to identify in the financial markets. Look at the demand as being buyers, the supply as being sellers. Where are the buyers in large enough quantity or with large enough orders to move the price of something? Where are the sellers in large enough quantity to do the opposite, to drive price down? You can look at a price chart, and we talk about a story. It's sort of like a radiologist reading an X-ray. He can look at an X-ray and see what is there. You should be able to do the same thing with the price chart. Everything you need to know about a stock is there. When you see the price of something, everything related to that company is reflected in that price. So wouldn't it be important, though, to you to know what's going to happen to the price after you see where it is? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? You want to be on the right side of that move. And you do that by identifying something that will, with a high degree of accuracy or high probability, put you on the right side of the movement. So if you are buying something, you want the price to go up. If you're selling, you want the price to go down. So it's really important to be able to identify on a price chart where the impact on that price is going to be and what direction, not only what direction is it going to go, but how far is it going to go? Because that becomes your profit. And you want to always look at a combination of reward to risk. And what our goal is with our students is to achieve maximum reward.
That's a tongue twister.
With minimum risk. And you do that by following what the experts out there, the people that kind of grew up in the financial markets, what they have showed us. And they're the ones that put together our core strategy because they understand what we call order flow. What we're looking for is not filled orders. In most of the strategies out there that are available will have you look at something after the orders have been filled. You're looking at maybe an increase in volume or after the price has already moved. We want to be there. We want to be involved before that happens. So what we're looking for are unfilled orders that are going to become filled orders, and you need to do that with a high degree of accuracy. You mentioned a couple of words there in that last segment. You mentioned turn and price,
Hmm.
and what we're looking for, a couple things. We're looking for where price turns. If the price of something stops going down and starts going up, that's the beginning of a new trend.
Yeah.
You want to be able to be participating in as much of that trend as possible, not getting in the middle or near the end of a trend. And to be able to do that, you have to know who has the clout to move the price of something. It's not you, Josh. It's not me. It's not us combined. It's huge companies, the major stock brokers, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, guys like Warren Buffett, hedge fund managers. They many times will throw hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars into a position. That's enough to move the price of something. But because of the way they have to trade, and we'll talk about this in these classes, it's perfect for our strategy because it allows us to take advantage of how they have to do something to be able to get an order filled, whether they are buying or selling it at the price they want to achieve.
Yeah, and just to kind of give an example, as Al was talking about supply and demand, when there's more buyers, price goes up. When there's more sellers, price go down, or a lack thereof, right? So, for an example, this I think it was this past winter, there was a big car frenzy. They were talking about there wasn't very many. You couldn't get parts or chips for cars,
Correct.
which was there was lack of vehicles, right?
Absolutely.
So there was demand for vehicles, a lack of vehicles. There's more buyers than the sellers. Less cars.
Right.
Prices went up with cars, especially used cars, is what they
Especially
said.
used cars, 30-40%.
So that's very similar in the markets. As you have a lot of buyers for something that's not available, price is going to go up. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now with markets turning over. Now there's more sellers than buyers. So that's why prices are going down. So how the concept is actually pretty simple. You just have to understand how to find that and identify that, as Al is talking about here, on a price chart. One more thing I just want to clarify and make sure you guys, heard what he heard. Let me just tell you what he just told you.
Please tell me.
And he was talking about where you get in your positions and how far it will go. So many investors get into a position with no plan of gain or loss, which is buy and hope, very similar to buy and hold. And as people are buying and holding, you see markets go down, they start losing everything, and then they lose all this time. So it's very important. It's just as important to find out how far that price will go, and then being able to realize or take profits on whatever investment that may be. So that was a great point that he brought out. I just wanted to tell you what he just told you. So you guys, I feel that was a thing that you guys might take that in consideration in your next investments, is where to get out of your position as well. And that's how you manage your risk as well. So Al, you talk about, and you actually show that price chart as you're talking about, and how to read that price chart in these investing classes that you
Correct.
teach locally. We have local academies. So if you're listening to the show right now, we have a local academy pretty close to you, and we have investing classes where we talk about how these markets work, how supply and demand works in the markets, but how to identify where institutions may be buying and selling, and that concept to make smart investing decisions to trade like them, not against them. So let's do this. I'm going to give a text number here for some tickets for an investing class, local academies. When you text in right now, you're going to receive 2 tickets, because you can bring a friend. Most people bring their spouse with it. A lot of people make their financial decisions together, and a lot of spouses want to come along to these investing classes. But also, you're going to receive a quick start kit that actually includes some free stock picks. We talked about opportunities in the stock market. There are opportunities. You just have to know which stocks and where to be buying and selling. So text right now. Text the word invest to the number 484848 for 2 tickets. That's invest to 484848. Al, so we have you talked about the concept of supply and demand, how prices move on a price chart, and how the institutions are moving those. It's the big money, the big banks. You said the Goldman Sachs, the Merrill Lynch's of the world. So a lot of our listeners right now, they're probably looking for income strategies because things are getting more expensive, as you're talking about earlier. They need extra cash to buy these things. So talk about some different income strategies using the market and having opportunities to live the life how you choose to live.
Yeah, I think now maybe more significant than ever to concentrate on the income part of your financial life. And really, there's two components to everyone's financial world. One is the income accumulation phase that you go through, typically while you're still working, and then it's that wealth buildup, the distribution phase when you go into retirement. And I think of those two, the most important is income. Whether you need additional income now or not, at some point in time, you're going to rely on a retirement account. And that retirement account is funded with extra income, kind of an overflow from the bucket that you need to live now, to cover all the basics of living. And for a lot of people, that just comes from their job, and that's all they know. They get a job, that's what they live on, that's what they rely on to build their retirement. Maybe, and this is we see this a lot now. People have more than one job, and unfortunately, a lot of people when they go into retirement are forced to get another job or
Yeah.
to maybe delay retirement. So the income portion and the wealth portion, the way you approach the markets is different for each. Income, if you need extra income, if you need extra cash, you can't wait 10 or 20 or 30 years like the buy and hold or buy and hope strategy
Yep.
that you mentioned. It's something you need now. And there are assets that are perfect for that. And we teach those. We talk about them in the class. Many of you will maybe have heard of them or maybe not even have heard of them, know nothing about them, maybe fear them, typically because you don't know anything about them. But there are
Hmm.
things like the futures market, the foreign exchange market, the options market. Not only are they great for providing shorter term income, but here's the other thing. Right now, if you have experienced losses in the market, how are you preparing to reverse those losses? Are you just going to do what everybody else does and kind of get mediocre returns and maybe take more time to get back to where you were before you had those losses? Would you like to be able to know strategies that you can use that will help you to at least give you the potential to recoup those losses quicker? And then go on from that point to have the potential for higher reward investments with minimal risk. And by the way, when we talk about risk, I hate to use that word because it scares people, but if the point is to be able to control that. Nobody can enter into the market, regardless of which portion of the market you're in, without some risk. So the point for all of our students is to learn how to minimize that, maximize the reward, minimize the risk. And with these assets that I talked about, futures, Forex, and options, one of the reasons that you have the potential for returns to rebuild your portfolio quicker is because they use leverage. Leverage means you can have a smaller account but still control a much bigger investment. It's a multiple of what you have in a margin account.
Yeah.
Could be a $2,000 account, could have the potential to control as much as $100,000.
Yeah, I want you to kind of explain that a little more in the next segment here with these different assets, some of the different opportunities. But I was having a conversation with some people. Actually, it was a guy earlier this week, and he's like, I've been thinking about getting into the markets and learning how to do this for years.
Hmm.
And he said, I always wanted to do this. And I said, well, what took so long? He said, well, I don't know, I just didn't do it. But that's what's happening to people is people just don't do things. They like the old slogan with Nike. It's time to just do it. You have to learn. You have to get started because these markets are moving really well right now, and people need income strategies. Now is the time to do that, not when your ducks get in a row. So we have investing classes to help people get started and help people get comfortable with the financial markets. Learn how to be consistent in the market. That builds more confidence. So you can text right now for 2 tickets for an introductory investing class locally here at our academies. We have local academies. If you're listening to the show right now, real close. So text right now. Text the word invest to the number 484848. That's invest to 484848. You're also going to receive a financial quick start kit when you get set up that will help you get started right away. It's all about being comfortable and confident. Learn how to do it like the institutions are doing it. That's how supply and demand and our core strategy is designed to follow them. Coming up next, Al, let's talk about those other assets and more income strategies, but also we'll get into some wealth strategies and making smarter investing decisions with those retirement accounts, 401ks and IRAs. Text INVEST to 484848. This is Josh and Al. We'll be right back.